Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. It is Friday, and let's see if YouTube's working today. Hello, everyone.
It is.
Welcome. Yay, good. All right. So Friday, TGIF. In the Christmas spirit, not really relevant, but we're having fun jokes. Friday the 13th, Jason, all that kind of fun stuff. Interesting to see. I mean, I've been talking quite a while about 1 year pivots on things like Bitcoin. So everybody who's crypto related should remember that exact peak to trough 1 year anniversary. And I noticed the stock market is working its way higher, and I still think that they actually want to rally this thing into the 1 year anniversary of last year's dump. So, man, never a dull moment in this crazy market with politicians doing what they do. I am noticing, like things from risk on, risk off. It's all over the map these days. Gotta say, big shout out to the Duke of Albuquerque for having the patience and discipline to wait for his target hit, and he got paid this morning on oil. So, congratulations, Kevin. Nice trading. Stocks, as you can see, kind of mixed message. Fed basically the other day said, look, we're not going to stand in front of the market. We think we're done. We're just going to leave you guys alone. And then politicians come out like literally right afterward and say, oh yeah, we got trade deals going. It looks like we're going to kick butt. Yay. I get the feeling, and I put out tweets earlier this morning, that the market's starting to lose faith in these tweets, etc. And they're starting to look at this with a bit of skepticism. I sort of had said that yesterday, and I put out tweets. Look, I'm from Missouri, and Google what the state motto of Missouri is to understand that joke. But we used to always say that in the stock market. Look, I'm from Missouri. Anyway, shake it though. We have a really interesting setting here where we have gold heading higher, which is good, encouraging. We looked at the gold stocks, very uppy. Bonds are actually rallying. You can see they've come off a little bit after nasty M's. Of course, I'm short, not touching bonds. And I put out a tweet with regard to the Fed. In January, they're actually planning on completely revisiting, and Lagarde the other day said that they're going to do a complete strategic review, and they're going to actually try and get more inflation, i.e. interest rates going up, in the coming months, quarters, years ahead. So get ready for it. I do believe that the pivot in long-term interest rates has come, and I think we should, on balance, be looking for lower bond prices, higher interest rates going forward now. Interesting that we have an update here in the bond market. Stocks are still trying to work higher. But on balance, you can see, I'll just leave it at that. I am working a bond short, so we'll see how that goes. Japanese yen, US dollars all over the map following the recent Fed announcements. Trade deals, all that kind of stuff. I do believe, actually, on balance, just looking at this image, that we do actually have a break in the US dollar working here. So if that's the case, then actually I can understand that whole sort of gold bottoming thesis, because remember, gold and US dollar should move in opposites. But it is interesting, too, if we do AB equals CDs, where does that take us down into? And we've talked about this lots, that the weekly range is defined by this gap to the downside and this gap to the upside, and really it looks to me like the US dollar index wants to come down against its bottom. Now, why would that be happening? Like I said, it's not a mass rush into the yen, so something else must have happened in the world. And of course, and I don't know whether it's been put to bed or not, but from what I understand, the Brexit vote has happened now in the UK. I gotta hand it to Goldman Sachs. They had the right call here. I was sort of fishing for tops in here, and you can see I got busted out here. But huge spike, and we had a special report from the Down Under report from Johnny Salmon yesterday, talking lots about how he was actually long British pound into the election on a free trade. because he had sold half at his initial profit objective and stops to scratch on remaining. And Mr. Johnny Salmon got paid big time here this morning, so way to go, John. And great report from the Down Under people. Thursday's actually turning out to be a really interesting day, where we have the baby powder report first half and we have the Down Under report second half. So great content from site members through daily briefs. So congratulations, Johnny Salmon. Totally called that trade nicely, and like I said, hopefully he got paid nicely here this morning. Now, the problem with that is that the end of the move? I mean, it is a big red candle. It did leave a gap, so huge move up. I mean, certainly I'm not going to be thinking about shorting that anytime soon, but let's see how that develops. That might be sort of a end of the move kind of thing. But I did notice that the euro also is trying to move higher here too. And I wonder whether there's been a sentiment shift to move money back into Europe now that Brexit stuff maybe is getting closer to a conclusion. So with all that said, oh boy, what a mouthful. Risk on, risk off, stocks still moving to new highs, and I think we're heading to that 24th pivot. Oil! Kevin got paid. Way to go, dude. You are the man. But in a weird sort of way, we actually have bonds rallying. I do think that the technical break has happened in the bond market. This is a counter-trend rally, but you never know. We might just violently reverse higher if we can recapture these highs up top here on the bonds. Then they're back in business. And it's interesting to see that the gold is a bit up here. So we got gold and oil moving up at the same time. Considering I do like the idea that the US dollar is coming off, I do like the seasonality of the gold market, I'm still very skeptical about whether this oil's got more legs, but we'll see how it goes. Finish off stock market commentary right here. Of course, we've had just an incredible run in some of these biotech and pharma stocks, and yet another one. And of course, this Kevin, was this your idea that you brought to the TRI-SOF meeting? I think it was. Kevin, I mean, you stick around TRI long enough and you just get the idea. We buy against lows. Institutional players buy down markets. So whether it be crypto and, reload zones and all that, or whether it be stocks, hopefully everybody looks at this image and goes, yeah, I can understand why that Beamish guy is buying into this market. We are at the bottom end of the range. We've got actually W's coming in here now. This is a weekly price chart. You know how much the old man loves his weekly W's. And kind of a fun side proxy here too. This is a cool one in that it's actually got listed warrants. So maybe you're like, hey, I'm a cheap ass. I'm not going to go throw $1.88 at the stock. All right, well, here, I'll give you a deal where you can spend 18 cents. I don't know what the terms of the warrant are. It just was really interesting when we were loading up the call here. I did see that, here is our range. You can see the gaps on the stock itself up here at about $4. And gee whiz, look at this big old hole on this chart up at 75 cents. So you could go in there at 20, what is it? It's 18 cents right now. Look to make 50, 60 cents. Selling halves on doubles, I guess that would be like 40 cents. And, a home run would be it zipping up into 75 cents here. So it just goes to show that there are always ideas that we're chewing on. They're constantly, it's just the market is constantly churning. And here we go. And you want to see, this one drove me nuts, but I was in and out of this one because I was outsmarting myself here. But I was so pleased to see that a bunch of site peeps, they got in off of these W's, beg your pardon. And they just got paid big time here today. So congratulations TRIers, and hopefully everybody sees weekly W's. Oh, god damn. What a trade. And the worst part about this one was that I was squawking on the site. We actually had an outside-upside key reversal here. This was the buy signal, and I completely missed it. So, on that note, it was kind of fun. I think I've told you guys we're building out our site, try and take us to the next level, a developer cycle, all that kind of stuff. And we had a really cool screener tool that our CTO has built. Now we have a tool that identifies all these key reversals as they're happening. So super, super cool. I won't get into it today. Maybe we'll talk about it in the weeks ahead. But interesting political football around corn, and some of the fertilizer stocks as well. But we'll leave that for a conversation for another day. Finishing off this free video for you guys. Actually, how ironic. We'll take another look at the corn. Hearing a lot of talk about, number one, a lot of people are getting very frustrated. They're kind of losing enthusiasm, the bearish sentiment, and the not necessarily bearish, short this thing, but almost kind of like, oh, I give up. Oh, this thing's not going anywhere. Oh, I'm not interested. There's no sex appeal here, blah, blah, blah. And ironically enough, that's actually what has to happen for bottoms to come in. So that's kind of an encouraging sign here on Bitcoin. Of course, we have hit mountain man levels. So we do have to understand that institutions are going to be coming in on the buy side. Where exactly is the bottom? Of course, that's a mug's game. Ideally, I think, try and hunt weekly W's, that kind of stuff, to try and help you pick bottoms. But we did have an interesting conversation in the daily brief today, in that it sure feels like we're getting awfully close to some sort of pivot here. I would actually like to see one more FU to come in fully. If we look at the CME contract, this gap technically has not actually been filled in here, even though, God, I hear a lot of people on crypto Twitter and on the net claim that it has been filled in. But I'm sorry to say, folks, from a candlestick perspective, this gap has not been filled in yet. So I do kind of like the idea of one more fuck you, just to really, almost rip the hearts out of crypto kids. And that marks our bottom, and away we go. But, we should just simply understand the fact that, hey, we are now into areas where institutional players are accumulating. They're buying. I don't know whether this is the actual bottom or not. My hunch is no. But if this did end up Wing out and we started to work our way higher, I don't think anybody could be like, what, this is a high risk entry here, because we are down in green zones. Actually, I think a lot of the risk has come out of this market. We'll see how it goes. Clearly potential. In fact, actually, this is confirmed. M's have come in. But what we did kind of muse about on the daily brief today, we had Colin, like I said. I'm a little worried that we might be actually setting up for a nice little counter trend rally. And keep in mind, like this level here, 7,700 on the Bollinger Bands, right up against these highs. We're sitting at 72. You could very easily see Bitcoin rally like $500 here, just to get back into resistance here. So I'm not ready to sort of declare bottoms, but at the same time too, we have a pretty wide range. What we would ideally like to see is volatility come right out of this market, like this kind of scenario. Then okay, we're pretty damn close to some sort of pivot. Still thinking that we're playing around in a fairly wide range here. So it's optimistic. It's good. But, we had sort of talked recently as well about things like weekly price charts. We just got some fresh weekly sell signals. So, yes, there is potential. 13 EMA here on the weekly corn chart, sitting at about 8,200. As we said, just to test to these highs, 7,500. That would test the old breakdown levels. So I think that this is our sort of our playground. $7,000 is the bottom. 7,900 here on Stamp is the top. And if anything, I'm kind of thinking we're just going to sort of settle our way in here. With this sort of the tilt being to the downside. Fresh sort of lower time frame M's. And like I've said before, kind of like the stock market with Mr. Trump, for me to actually believe that there is a bottom in here, I got to see a W. I'm from Missouri. Show me. So that's sort of my perspective on crypto here this morning. We're coming into the weekend. So as a result, we got lots of people on the site, trading and playing like altcoins and stuff like that. So we talked a little bit about lower time frames. This is a range. So, can you take advantage of that $500 price swing? It's up to you and your plan. I can absolutely guarantee you that, if that rally does come, we're going to have a lot of TRI people trading away. But also, too, let's keep an eye on the altcoin space heading into the end of the year, tax loss selling. Here, this was one of the names that Colin mentioned this morning. And I kind of like this story simply because what I see here, and I see this a lot in crypto, is if you look at on balance volume, the money is actually flowing into this name. Even though price is working its way lower, you can even see just the day before yesterday, somebody came in very heavy on the buy side. So here's yet another name. I don't think it's actually quote unquote bottomed just yet, but we do have a cute little daily W working. Maybe give this a little bit more time. I mean, do your due diligence, do your fundamental research. What's the reason? What's the fundamental reason you want to get involved in this name? I'm going to leave that up to you, but I'm just going to simply say, when Colin was mentioning this, you notice tail. Somebody really doesn't want this thing to go back below these levels. Interesting hole in the profile all the way back up to 8 cents, sitting right now at 2. That's 4x. This is the kind of environment that I think we're in crypto. And, I kind of like those pharma names. I love when I see this kind of action. Then just start painting W's with these massive divergences in things like OBV. I tell you, I think it's a buyer's market right now. And that's a pretty good image. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not sexy. In fact, 99% of the public, when they look at this, they say this thing's a piece of crap. Why on earth would I be interested in this, Brian? So it just goes to show, remember, institutions buy down markets. They sell up markets. Sell half on a double, bang, 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 all that kind of talk. So there's another name for you to consider, and that came directly out of Colin's report today. Okay, guys, I think I'll leave the broadcast at that. Hope you have yourself a great rest of your trading day. Try and do some broiler chickens on the weekend, but all the best, and bye for now.